Hey Book Dragons, I'm so glad you're here with me today. We are getting very, very close to the holidays, and so I wanted to make a gift guide for you, specifically for book lovers in your life. I hope you really enjoy this video. I've got some great ideas to share with you. And so let's get right to it. Now, I gotta put my eyes on, as I always do, because I've got my list here in front of me. Now, I'm going to start with something that's probably pretty obvious, and that is if you want to give a good gift to people who love books, I think the obvious thing is books, right? Although, you don't want to just stop at books, but that is the obvious gift. So maybe they have some special editions that they've really been wanting. Maybe they are trying to complete a collection of a certain series. Or maybe you just know they've got a long book list on Amazon or wherever it is, and you want to grab them something off of there. That's great. Books are always a great gift for book lovers. At the expense of stating the obvious, yeah, you can buy books. Now, if you're looking for specific books to buy, and you have readers in your life who like fantasy, you can always buy my books, Talendor's Guest, or The Nomad's Crucible. Just shameless plug there. All right, let's move on. Gift cards. Now, this is kind of boring, I guess, but if you're at a loss for what to get somebody, you can always give them a gift card, right? That's an easy win. They can use that money to go buy whatever they want. They can buy books, they can buy ebooks, they can buy clothes, whatever they need. But that is an option. So we'll do that as an honorable mention. Now, let's say that you have a person in your life that likes to read ebooks. Now, I like to read ebooks. That's primarily what I read, actually. I have an e-reader, but let's say that you have someone who is always reading on their phone. They don't have a Kindle or a Kobo or whatever it is. You can buy them an ebook reader. I use a Kindle. This is my Kindle right here. It's probably 3 or 4 years old. I think it's 3 generations old, but it still works great. It'll last me 2 weeks on a charge. So, yeah. And Kobos are similar. In fact, Kobo has a really good color e-reader out there if you're wanting to get that for a loved one. So that's an expensive gift, but it is a nice gift if you want to get them an e-reader. Or maybe they have a really old e-reader and you want to get them the newest model or whatever. So that's a cool gift, right? Another one is bookmarks. That may sound weird to get someone a bookmark, but we're talking special bookmarks here, right? We're talking fancy ones, maybe really fancy artwork on it. Maybe it's really high quality paper, or it is imitation leather, it's laminated, things like that. Metal bookmarks even. I've got a metal bookmark here that somebody gave me and has a little quote from a book on it right here, and it says, "So long as you fight the darkness, you stand in the light." And that's a quote from Saba Tahir from An Ember in the Ashes, I guess. I have not read that book, but it's a cool quote, and it's a really nice bookmark. It's got that little tassel on it and everything. So bookmarks are a nice idea for something to give a bookworm in your life. A book light is another one. I've used book lights in the past. They weren't really my thing, to be honest, but some people really like book lights, and you can find some really nice ones. There's even book holders that you can get that you can clip your book to, and then it's got a light attached to it. Those are pretty nice. So there's lots of good options out there for book lights if you've got someone who wants to read in bed and they don't really have a good light to do that with. They're always having to reach over and turn on the lamp. A book light would be helpful to that person probably. So that's a really nice option as well. Book box subscriptions. Now this can get a little expensive, of course. but there are book box subscriptions out there like The Broken Binding and Illumicrate and things like that. There's others I know of as well, like Fairy Loot Crate. So you've got a wide variety of options for book box subscriptions. You could even do the Book of the Month Club for that special someone in your life if you wanted to. You know, that's probably the original book box subscription, but that's just for like general readers. It has a lot of different genres in it, whereas things like Fairy Loot and Illumicrate tend toward things that are more fantastical, like sci-fi and fantasy and urban fantasy, things like that. So it just depends what the reader in your life is interested in, but that is an option that you can look into as well. Reading subscriptions is another one. And this would be something like Audible. Maybe you want to buy a year of Kindle Unlimited for somebody to get ebooks with if they read a lot on an Amazon Kindle. There's also Kobo Plus, which is similar to Kindle Unlimited, but for the Kobo. So it depends on what e-reader they have and what they use the most, of course. But reading subscriptions are a really good idea for that special someone in your life. Now, the next one I'm going to talk about is book totes. And I just have, I just got a really, my Barnes & Noble one. I just got this for free with my yearly subscription to Barnes & Noble, but it's a nice one, and it holds some good books. I use it for other things as well, but I could put my books in here and I can tote them around if I want to, and so that's an option if you want to get that for a special someone in your life. Not a bad option at all. And there's fancier ones out there than the Barnes & Noble ones. So you can explore to your heart's content and find a really fancy one or intricately designed one that works for the person that you're buying for. So if they like to go around different places and bring their books with them, you can get them a book tote. Now, a similar idea is a book sleeve. And I'll pop a picture up here on the screen for it so that you know what I'm talking about. But it's just essentially a sleeve that you put a book in. So you still kind of have to hold it in your hand to carry it around with you. Or maybe if you have a purse, you can stick it in your purse. But at least you've got something that's protecting your book. Especially if you're putting it in a bag. It could risk getting all bent up and everything. And the idea of a book sleeve is to kind of protect it from doing that. And so book sleeves are a really great idea for that. Bookish Apparel is another one. And you can find lots of really bookish shirts and other types of clothes out there. Bookish socks, jackets, hoodies, everything out there that has quirky bookish quotes on it and everything. I think that's really cool. Now, you might notice my shirt here. I'm wearing a very subtle bookish shirt. So it has the chess pieces on it, of course. And then, as you'll notice, it says Game of Chess. But it's done in the design of Game of Thrones. So, it's very subtle. But it kind of played to both of my interests, right? I love books. I very much love Game of Thrones. And I love chess. And, what better way to combine the two? But anyway, this is a type of bookish shirt that you might look into. There's others. I'll pop up a picture here and here of some other examples if you want to look into something like that. There's a lot of booktubers. If you follow a lot of booktubers, a lot of them have merch stores, and you can buy merch directly from them. But there's other great places to buy too, like Redbubble and Teespring, and there's a whole bunch of options. You just kind of need to look and see what's out there. Another one is bookish candles. And I'll put some examples up here on the screen as well. A lot of people love a really nice smelling candle, And there are candle stores out there that specifically cater to bookworms. And some of them will license different properties, like A Song of Ice and Fire, or Game of Thrones that I just mentioned, or maybe A Court of Thorns and Roses for you ladies out there that really enjoy that series. There are specific candles that you can find that are inspired by your favorite book series. And there's a bunch of companies out there that focus on stuff like that. And who doesn't love a really good smelling candle? Now, I've smelled some not so good candles, I'll just say that. But if you can find a really nice smelling one for your loved one that likes candles and likes books, that's a win-win. And they can light the candle while they're reading their favorite book. Why not, right? It gives some light, some ambiance, mood lighting, that sort of thing. So, yeah. All right, let's move on, and we're going to talk about bookshelf nooks. Now, you may not totally be familiar with what I'm talking about. I will put a picture up here on the screen. And it's basically a miniature scene, a diorama, basically, that is in the shape of a book, and then inside what would be the book, you've got this little diorama, maybe featuring a library or a haunted castle or something like that, and you know, you've got little miniature chairs and little miniature bookshelves and stuff inside this diorama that just sits on your bookshelf where a book would go. And I think those are really, really cool. I just absolutely love that idea. I've seen some really awesome ones, and it can be kind of crafty too. So if you've got a bookworm in your life that's crafty and they like putting things together, there are some of those dioramas out there that are not pre-built. You can get them that they have to put together, and there's instructions, and you know, they put it all together and then they put it on their shelf. So it's a win-win in both scenarios. If they like to craft and they like to read, melding the two together. I think you can get already pre-built ones or pre-assembled ones, but it just depends on the person that you're buying for, right? Let's move on to the category of collectibles. And there's a whole lot of collectibles out there that people can enjoy. You might get your favorite bookworm a plushie, for instance. Like I've got this little dragon that my youngest, their partner got for me one year for a gift. And, you know, it's just a little dragon plushie. And he sits on my shelf. And he's really cute. So there's collectibles like this. And of course, you've seen my mascot here, Timarath. And, you know, he's always sitting there behind me. There's other stuff too. There are Funko Pops, and you guys know that there's oodles and oodles of options out there for Funko Pops. And you can make your own, and you can buy ones that are already pre-made in your favorite nerddoms. And one of mine is Good Omens. You guys know I'm a huge fan of Good Omens, the show, the book, everything like that. And when the show first came out, they did Funko Pops inspired by the show. And of course, I've got my Aziraphale and Crowley Funko Pops here. And, you know, Aziraphale is holding a flaming sword and he's got his wings. And then Crowley has the handlebar from his car that broke off. These are great. These are great. But there's a whole wide range of them out there. There's a Stephen King Funko Pop for you Stephen King fans out there. You can get a Stephen King Funko Pop. There's one for George R. R. Martin. There's even one for the Iron Throne from Game of Thrones, if you want to get that for your favorite bookworm. So there's lots of Funko Pop options. There's also Lego sets. There's Lego sets for bookworms. I love Legos, okay? And I'm almost 50 years old, guys. I still like Legos. Absolutely love them. I've got I've got a Lego thing up there on my shelf that my kids got me for Star Wars. So that's more like movie related. But, there's plenty of Lego sets out there that are for different books. Usually it's for books that have also been adapted because, they're making a line of toys for the movie to do their marketing with. But since it's based off a book, there's Harry Potter ones out there. Just a whole bunch of options out there for Legos. So if you've got someone in your life that loves Legos and loves books, you might as well look and at least see if there's a Lego set out there for the specific book that happens to be their favorite. Okay, so let's move on from collectibles, and we're going to talk about throw blankets and snuggle pillows. This is the time of year when we all want to cozy up with our favorite book under a blanket and have our snuggle pillows. Like this is a Fire and Blood pillow. I got this somewhere, I don't remember, but you snuggle up, you put your pillow behind your head. Maybe you've got your favorite beanie or whatever on, and you cozy up in your blanket and you're ready to read your book. I mean, everybody who loves to read usually likes to snuggle up with something to keep them warm in the winter while they're reading. And there's even a few people that will do it year-round because it's just that cozy feeling that you want while you're reading your book. So throw blankets are a really good idea, and snuggle pillows, and I'll pop up some other pictures here so you can take a look at some different options. But there's some really nice stuff out there. As you can see, one of these pictures has a dragon on the blanket. It's awesome. It's awesome, guys. So that's a really good idea. And then the last one I'm going to end with is fingerless gloves. Now, you may think this is kind of weird, but stay with me here. Stay with me. Fingerless gloves allow the person in your life to keep their hands warm while still having available digits necessary to turning pages or to tapping a screen on their e-reader if they read ebooks. And, because if you have a mitten on or a glove on, you can't. I mean, there's no tactile feeling there to easily turn a page or tap the screen, right? I mean, you could do it with a physical book, but it would probably end up like fumbling the page and maybe bending the page or whatever. So it's really best to have a finger or two free, like, preferably your thumb and your forefinger to turn the pages with, and then the rest of your hand is warm inside the glove. Now, another option that I saw that I thought was really a cool idea is tactile gloves. That's right. So tactile gloves have these little, I don't know what they would be called, but they're meant to simulate actual physical touch. So if you're using your phone or an e-reader, you can actually press on the screen. It works kind of like a stylus, I guess I would say. You can press on the screen and it will work even though your hands are like inside the gloves. At least you have that tactile impression that you can turn the page with or tap the screen with and not have to sacrifice the warmth of your hands. So that is a really good idea for bookish people as well, if you want to get that as a gift for the reader in your life. And guys, that is the end of my list. I would love to know what you think of this list. Are there other things that I did not talk about that you think would really do well on this list? Other things you bought for book lovers in your life in the past? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to dialogue with you. And guys, I hope you have a wonderful holiday season, regardless of what gifts you buy or what gifts you get, because remember, it's the people in your life that are the true gifts. These are just things. But I hope you have gotten some good ideas from this video, and make sure that you read more books. I will talk with you very soon. And I want to give a huge shout out to my patrons. Thank you so much for all the support you give my channel.